apparently some people have forgotten all about consequences. Fix your moral compass. Okay, let's fix my compass. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is great to be here. We've got more new subscribers. I really appreciate it. If you would like, subscribe and make sure you comment to these videos, and I will do more comment reactions and we'll talk about your comments. It seems to be a fun thing to be doing these days. I don't know about you, but I'm learning even more stuff about strongman, as vast as my knowledge is in strongman. So let's get stuck in, lads. So the first one is, his name is Gimme the Juice. What would happen if Eddie Hall came back? And that's actually a really interesting question, because what would happen if Eddie Hall came back? We know how dominant Eddie Hall was when he was in his era. What would happen if Eddie Hall came back? For argument's sake, let's imagine that Eddie Hall came back. Thor was in the same competition. Hooper was in the same competition. First of all, how fucking entertaining would that competition be? It'd be amazing. It'd be really fun to see Hooper, Eddie, and Thor go up against each other, because it'd be such a battle between the three of them. Because the three of them, in my opinion, were just levels above everyone else. And I know a lot of you will say this. Eddie didn't win much, but that's literally because he retired. God, I don't know what would happen. So let's say, for argument's sake, all three of them did World's Strongest Man. I don't know, like, we see how hard Eddie and the effort, how much Eddie Hall puts into it. So you can imagine Eddie Hall would have to get a lot fitter if he came back, because I find the strongman competitions these days have more fitness into him. So we probably wouldn't see, I think Eddie Hall's heaviest was 196. He'd probably come back at like a 180. He's currently sitting at 165, so he wouldn't actually have to get that much bigger. But I can tell you one thing, it'll be fucking exciting, and I would love to see it. It probably will never happen, but how much excitement would that be? Imagine Thor and Eddie at the same competition. Awkward. Next on, John 70. As long as Colin is in the picture, no strongman with any respect for a fair sport should be in any way associated with Giants Live. So just stop that get over it bullshit. Cheating is cheating, but apparently some people have forgotten all about consequences. Fix your moral compass. Okay, let's fix my compass. As long as Colin's a picture, no strongman has any... What are you talking about? Any respect for a fair sport associated with Giants Live. Do you know, that's such Johns. Do you know what you rhyme with? Johns rhymes with nonce. You're talking shit. Cheating is cheating. Who's cheating? Does no one cheat? As I explained in the last video, there was no cheating going on. What's this cheating crack about? But apparently some people have forgotten all about consequences. Yeah, like people leaving stupid comments and haven't been called a cunt. Next question. We've seen this lift 1,000 times in strongman. I'm curious how much someone can lift with 2 dumbbells for a clean and press. I'm guessing 60 kg is the very max. This is interesting because back in 2020 World's Strongest Man, where we had to go inside, I think it was the only year World's Strongest Man was inside, and one of the events at that I can remember because I was there was a double dumbbell press, and part of it was literally picking up 2 dumbbells, cleaning it up here and pressing it. I think in my own training, prepping for it, I got 55s, but I was training with normal dumbbell handles. As far as I remember, in World's Strongest Man 2020, there were actual, there were the Rogue dumbbells and there were thick handles. And I can tell you that was really, I can remember at the time, it was really difficult because obviously, see, the thing about this is the grip. This would turn into a grip event, even if it had normal handles, because when I was training for it, the issue for me was literally holding on to dumbbells to get them up there. It's not like a log or a barbell where you can double overhand or over under. And it's not like a log where you actually, like, you lift a log really with your core and your stomach. So the big factor here is grip. And I just kind of watched the video there quickly, and Brian Shaw pissed it. I think the final dumbbells in it was 65 kilos, which I think was 145 pound dumbbells, and he literally snatched him up. Plus, Brian has really strong grips, so I think he'd be the one that would dominate that. And I see him maybe doing like he did 65 kilos easy. I think if he was going for a max, he'd probably do probably in around 80 kilos. I remember Thor as well at the time did 60s and was repping out sets of 10. Literally just clean him and banging out sets of 10. So he'd be another contender. Anyone really with massive hands, because with massive hands comes massive grip. So it would be between Thor and Brian Shaw, I think. But yeah, it would be a good one. Lifting in your gym in your own time on the day, that works for you, and not having to wait or think about others gives you a massive advantage. Thor's is a glamorized gym lift. It's not really a glamorized gym lift. I mean, it's an unofficial world record for me. And there was massive benefits to doing that in your home gym. You can imagine like he didn't have to fly anywhere. He didn't have to travel anywhere. He didn't have to stay in a shitty hotel. Not in a shitty hotel, but you're not in your own bed where you'll get a proper night's sleep. And that's a massive benefit. Even like when I travel, I bring my own pillows just so when I put my head down the pillow, that it's my own smell, even though that sounds weird, but it's my own scent that I'm breathing in and out, and not these fucking... Do you ever go to a hotel, right, and you're lying down on the pillow and the pillow just makes that scrunch noise constantly in your ear? That's really nice for me. So he didn't have all these things. He didn't have things where he was not eating at home, eating his breakfast, eating his lunch. There wasn't a fixed time. He selected a time. Obviously, Eddie Hall had to go at 5 o'clock because that's when the giant live shows kick off. So there's a lot of disadvantages and advantages. The flip side of that then is Eddie Hall would have had 10,000 fans screaming at him, or 15,000, how many was there. That's also a massive advantage. So, who knows? How come you haven't been competing recently, Pa? You were part of the furniture at Giants Live. After Royal Albert Hall, I was so fed up with training. For me, it just came very monotonous. I was just coming in, following the plan, training, eating, home, training, eat. And for me, it just got so fucking boring. I wasn't enjoying training anymore. And I went from Britain's Strongest Man straight into Europe's Strongest Man, straight to World's Strongest Man, then Royal Albert Hall. And that's just not me. I have a life outside of strongman. I have a family. I had other plans this year to do, so I just decided after Royal Albert Hall I wasn't going to, and I had opportunities to go to other shows. I literally turned them down because I wasn't going to give my 100%. I just wasn't going to give my all to them, basically, and I don't feel I should be there if I wasn't giving my all, so I turned these down. So obviously Ireland's Strongest Man was last week as well. I was really wanted to come back for that, just to get that title back, and obviously I didn't get to. As I began training, I got my blood work done and stuff like that, because I look after myself, unlike a lot of other people, and it just wasn't where I wanted it exactly to be. I want everything bang on for me to come back, and hopefully I will be back maybe early next year, back to Giants Live, and hopefully I can begin my training hopefully soon, my heavy training, and get back into doing some competitions again. So hopefully I'll see you there soon. Once again, another great video. I'd love to see you getting hired by Giants Live to do the commentary. That would actually be an exciting job. I'd love to do commentary for Giants Live, but Giants Live already have a massively really good commentary line. And if I was to give my opinion on the best commentators, first of all, the best commentator for me is Colin Bryce. I love listening to Colin Bryce because he's obviously stuck in the sport for so many years. He's so educated, and I just love the sound of his voice and commentating. He's a real commentator type of voice, and I just really enjoy it. Second for me would be Radzi. I fucking love listening to Radzi commentate. I suppose I first really kind of got down to listen to Radzi at the Magnuson Classic last year, and just sitting down with him. He's such a nice guy, and his commentary is A1. He's so good at commentary, so educated, brilliant commentary, such a nice guy to be around as well, which is a massive help. And third place for me would be Terry Hollands. I love Terry Hollands' commentary, again, because he's massively educated in strongman. He's doing it for donkey's years. He was doing strongman before I was even had my first competition done, as far as I know. So educated, and he's got that nice tone to his voice where you can just listen to his commentary. And I've watched him commentating a few times at Giants Live and at the OSG, and he's a really good commentator. So yeah, they'd be my top 3 commentators. So see this here, lads. As much as I love everyone commentating, but this to me just does my head in because there's so much to it. So see this comment here. As much as I love your comment, who is it? Steve. Can you bring it down a small bit? That is like a full essay. I'm not reading all that. I did read all of it, but I'm not going to read it all now because it would take me until next Tuesday to read all that. But there was a couple of good points in it. Just break it up, man. J. Fro, I see a bit like we have the Olympics record, the world record, then personal best. There can be 3 times all running for any athletic event. For example, Eddie has the world's strongest man record. For a legit personal best, not the same thing. And that's the kind of thing I was saying about it as well. Like, we all know Lasha has the clean and jerk record in the Olympics. We all know he has the world record, right? I think it sits at 264 kilos or something like this. But we all know there is a record outside of that of 270 kilos. Someone has done, I don't know his name. I'm fairly sure actually Lasha has it done in training as well. But we know of 2 guys that have done 270 kilo clean and jerk in training. No one recognises that. Literally no one, because it was done in a gym at training time. It wasn't done in competition. And the only record anyone looks at in the Olympics weightlifting is that record. So that's kind of my point here as well. How come nobody argues with that? Know what I'm saying? So moving on. Do you know what planet Mitchell Hooper is from? Because I cannot think of another strongman who started this dominant. Can you think of another strong alien man? The only one that came to mind immediately when I read this was, I suppose, it would have been Mariusz Pudzianowski, because of how dominant he was, and he even earned the name the Dominator. But even he is not as dominant as Mitchell Hooper. If you remember, back then, World's Strongest Man was split up into 2 groups. You had World's Strongest Man and you had, the name of the other place is going out of my head, but Big Z and a couple of other strongmen, really good strongmen, were in this other league. And then you had World's Strongest Man, which featured Mariusz Pudzianowski. So there was never one competition where they met a lot of the times, which is unfortunately, really, because I think that's the only reason he got 5 titles. I'm not taking anything away from his titles or how much of a good strongman he was. I just don't know if he would have 5 titles if Big Z was there all the time. But we'll never know. But he's probably the only dominant one, and he was so dominant. But there's no one like Mitchell Hooper, because Mitchell Hooper is up against so many professional athletes these days, and he's making them look like amateurs. He doesn't seemingly, the last 2 competitions, he hasn't come out of first gear really. So he's probably the most dominant strongman we've ever seen in strongmen, and I just feel like I can't see anyone touching him in the next year or 2. And let's move on to the last question. When Terry Hollands shrank down, he was surprised how thin his legs were. Do you think he could have won World's Strongest Man if his legs were bigger? I think Terry Hollands had fairly strong legs back in his day. I mean, he was one of the best bus pullers, truck pullers, and that's really, even though, like, if anyone asks you, it's all lungs, but, like, it's all legs. I've never known him to be a weak squatter. If he had stronger legs, possibly, because if he had stronger legs, maybe he would have a better overhead. I think if he had a better overhead than what he had, he possibly would have won World's Strongest Man. Like, he was a massive deadlifter, brilliant mover, was fast, was fit, even though he smoked. He was extremely fit, so who knows. The alien cunt quads are huge. Is this his source of power? I honestly believe that it is, because Hooper's legs, if you watch Hooper, even when he does his pressing, he's all quads. That log, even for when he does the log, is all the way up here before he tends to just, and then it's a case of just using his triceps and knocking it out. I think a lot of his training is all quads, or a lot of his power is all quads. And it's clear as well, like, if you look at his quads, they're huge. His arms and shoulders, everything else is not as big or dominant looking. It just is all quads. So yeah, should Tom focus on his legs? Every strongman should focus on his legs. Any program that I've been on, even when I was working with Hicksy back in the day, Hicksy had me training legs nearly 3 days a week, and it massively benefited my overhead for some reason. It was when I was training legs, like 3-4 times a week was the time I did a 190 log-in training, and that's the only time I've done a 190 log-in training. So it is massive advantages to having strong legs, and just a lot of people tend to not train them as hard as I was training back then. So yes, everyone should make that focus on their legs. That is all we have time for, I'm afraid. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you subs, guys. Make sure you sub to my page, please. And make sure you comment, and we'll do another video. Thank you very much.